the 1200 long-term review of the Commencal Meta Power SX. And first, how does it ride? We're gonna do it downhill, and then we're gonna dive deep on who's it for, the good, the bad, the ugly, availability, costing, and loads more. So riders, let's get into it. So this is why we ride the big bikes and the big chunky stuff, and this SX is laughable. The things you get away with, you can put this into some dodgy situations and the bike just comes straight through. Look, super chunky stuff, absolutely no problem. And a drop there, no problem into a corner. Love this bike, so much fun. It's true, it's a steamroller. You can't really be finesseful on it. It's not agile. It's a big bruiser. And you know, as we say, and as I've been saying, you got to pick your battles. What are you doing? What are you doing? Are you going downhill and super enduro, or are you going trail? It's just very obvious what you're doing on this bike is downhill. Yeah! Whoa! Riders, welcome back to Sans Bikes, where you know we only talk e-bikes, and today it's the long 1200k review of the Commencal Meta Power SX. If you are thinking about buying this bike or a big downhill super enduro e-bike, you need to watch this review. But first, a massive shout out to Schwarby that helped keep the lights on at Sam's Bikes and Commencal for the long-term test bike. So you saw the opening clip of me going downhill on the Commencal SX. This is a wild bike, it's super fun, and it is laughable what you can get away with. I've put this bike in some hairy situations and it's got me out to the other side. And it really is a very capable downhill bike.
And the suspension, super easy to set up. I actually felt guilty. With the coil on the back, the suspension was really linear and plush. Maybe a little too linear for my liking, but so predictable and comfortable on the downhills.
So the Meta SX is a big hitting super enduro downhill rig. 180 at the front, 165 at the back, running on 27s. So one would think maybe it's not a very good trail bike with a 63-degree head angle, and yeah, it's probably not the best trail bike, but you kind of need to pick your battles. First of all, are you looking to do super enduro or downhill bike? If you're saying yes to that, then you should be picking a super enduro downhill bike. If you want to do more trail bike riding, then you should be picking a trail bike. They can do both, but this bike is more suited for the gnarly, bigger stuff. And I got loads of questions on how it climbs. It has a 445 chainstay and on 27 wheels. So people were saying, oh Sam, doesn't the front wheel lift up? No, it doesn't. It climbs completely fine. We have a motor, we have a battery. It climbs fine. Okay, you're gonna be better on a 29er with a long chainstay, but as I said, pick your battles. You're going downhill or you're climbing. And the SX is a bruiser for jumping. It's a big bike, fully loaded, it's around 25 kilos. And you need to push into the lip, really, to get that launch off, but it definitely jumps well. Riders, it is worth noting, if you get it wrong as you take off, the bike is harder to correct in the air because it's such a big bike. Now let's look at the bike. The SX is running 180 at the front, 165 at the back, 27 wheels, Shimano EP8 motor, and a 630 watt battery. It's a hard hitting downhill enduro bike. We are rocking an aluminium frame in space gray. For me, this bike looks epic. And also riders, a lot of people are put off by aluminium. They want the carbon frames. If you look at the World Cup downhill circuit right now, we've got world champs like Aaron Gwynn, Lorik Bruni, and Brooke McDonald, all riding aluminium frames, and it's not slowing them down, so there's nothing wrong with the aluminium frame. So now let's look at the build. I've been testing the mid-spec race version. It comes with Zeb Ultimas, a super deluxe coil, code brakes, E13 wheels, Schwarby tires in gravity casing, 12-speed Eagle GX, pedals. Yes, finally pedals. When you spend $6,000 on a bike, you actually get some pedals. You'll see I've done some upgrades. I've got an i9 wheel on the back. I've gone Magic Mary front and back 2.6. I like that better on a 27. I've also put my Sam Hill pedals on there. I've gone an i9 40 stem at the front, fat bars, Magura MT7s, which I'm doing a long-term test on, and death grips. And there's a few reasons I made these upgrades. One, these companies support the channel. And two, I ride loads of different bikes and I love to have the same tires and the same bars, stem and brakes on all my bikes. Overall, the race version comes very well spec'd and you might need to change a few things, but we're going to get into that later. And it's really good to see Commencal not worrying about the weight. I think they're one of the only companies putting gravity case tires on their e-bikes. And what that means is these tires are going to last a lot longer and you're not going to have to change those tires out straight away, which on most e-bikes you have to. Okay, so it's an e-bike. So let's talk about the motor and battery. I'm not going to go into that much details because I have done a long-term review of the Shimano EP8 and a range test on the EP8. Links will be in the description. But overall, the Shimano EP8 is a fantastic feeling natural motor. I really like it. That clunking noise for me has not been a problem. And I put that down to the aluminium frame and also paired with the Industry 9 rear wheel, which kind of muffles the sound. Overall, it's a great motor and an improvement over the E8000. I really like the new application and how you can customize the motor and how you want it to feel. It is a little bit Mickey Mouse. It doesn't connect always and sometimes it does take a minute. It all sounds great, doesn't it? There are a few negatives and I will get to that. But first, Commencal is an online brand only, so you're gonna have to go over to their website and head over to the e-bike section. And the Meta Power SX comes in 3 models. We have the Ride, 5,400 euros. Then we got the Race, 6,600 euros. And then we got the Signature, which is bloody pretty and maybe the best spec'd e-bike I've seen this year, 7,200 euros. I really wouldn't change anything on the Signature. If you're confused on which model you should be going for me it kind of goes like this. The base model Spec, which is 5,400, normally is for someone that's a beginner or also someone that wants to upgrade from the base. And the mid-spec is normally the best value for money. And then the top spec is the prettiest and comes with a little bit more extras than the mid-spec and more expensive. And really the main difference between the top spec and the lower spec is the adjustability of the brakes and suspension. You are getting the same motor and same battery. For me with the Meta Power SX, it's the Signature all the way. It's coming with 38s and X2, man, it's a killer build for the price. Also riders, with COVID, it's probably best to check out the availability of these bikes as well as the spec, as well as the price. Commencal's told me they have got a few left, and if you put your orders in now, with any luck, you will be riding this summer. So now we're going to look at sizing. The Meta comes in 4 sizes, small to extra large. And Commencal has a sizing chart, definitely check that out. And if you are right in the middle of like a large and a medium, the rule of thumb for me is if you're a beginner rider or not that confident, I would size up, and that's going to make the bike longer, which is going to make it more stable at high speeds. And if you are a confident rider and you know what you want, a shorter bike is going to make it nicer in the turns and also nicer for jumping and doing pancakes and stuff like that. And I'm 183 centimeters and I went for the large, and the reach is 485 centimeters, I think. And I found this sizing perfect for me. So now you picked which one you want, what size, and you pay with PayPal or your credit card. And then if it's in stock, the bike arrives 12 to 14 days later in a box. You have to build it. It's pretty easy. I've done a video on how to build these bikes. If you can build an IKEA flat pack, you can build one of these bikes. Pretty much in 20 minutes it's done and you're ready to ride. So now you're ready to make your order and shred on those downhills. But wait, there are a few problems and a few things I didn't like with the Meta. So after putting over 1200 Ks on the Meta, the worst thing by far is the Shimano plug. This thing has never worked for me. It is a massive fail on Shimano's behalf, and I would really like to see them make a rubber plug, not a plastic plug, and for it to close. The 220 rotors. It's really nice to have big rotors on this bike, but SRAM haven't changed the thickness of these rotors, and they're like butter. I've changed the front one. I'm waiting on the back one from Magura. That's the first thing I'd change on this bike, put 203s or put thicker 220 rotors. And the crank bolts from E13 I would definitely change these out for Shimano because these ones come loose. Also, it's 2021. It would have been nice for this bike to have a flip chip. One, because it gives you more room in geometry if you want to change it to a mullet. And two, 63-degree head angle is really good when you're riding steep stuff, but it would be nice to have 64 or 65 as well. And with the current trend of the mullet, so 29 at the front, 27 at the back, it would have been really cool if Commencal gave us the option to run a 29 at the front, or just gave us a 29 fork, so it allowed us to run a 27 or a 29 wheel. If you want to make this bike a mullet, you're going to have to buy a wheel and buy the forks. And riders, a lot of you out there asked me to set it up mullet, and it is happening. I ordered a Fox 38 Kashima 170 at the front, and I've got my 29 i9 wheel. So in the next couple of weeks, that's going to happen. And my last gripe is not with Commencal, it's with Shimano, the EP8. So this bike rocks a 630 watt battery, and it's a fantastic feeling motor, but I haven't been that impressed with the range. Right, as you can check the range test out, I got about 1100 vertical meters of climbing, which is not that good. If you're riding with someone with a Bosch or a Bros motor, you're probably gonna get less range. It would be nice if Shimano released a water bottle holder so you could add another 200 watts of power to this bike. So who is the Meta SX for? I see it for two different types of people. A shredder, someone that wants to look for the gnarliest, steepest stuff and ride it and repeat it. And also for a beginner that wants 27 wheels, because I think a beginner finds a lower bike to the ground easier to ride. And also this bike allows you to ride big stuff really confidently. So I'd say a beginner or someone looking for gnarly trails. And Commencal make it really difficult because their 29er and their 27 are awesome bikes. And a lot of people have asked me, which one should I go for? All right, it's really simple. Do you want to go downhill? This bike. You want to go backcountry and enduro? The 29er. They're both going to do the other thing, but this is going to go better downhill, and the 29 is going to go better enduro backcountry. And the $1,000,000 question, would I buy the Meta Power SX in 2021? I'm going to say bloody oath. It's a wicked bike, super fun, really confident bike to ride. And it's my go-to bike if I'm looking at doing a new downhill that's crazy or a big jump. It just transmits so much confidence on the trail, so it's definitely a thumbs up from me. And riders, that's it from me today. If you have any questions on the SX or on the Levo or on the Levo SL or on any e-bikes, hit me up, love to help. And if you have not subscribed to the channel, please do so. Share it with like-minded people and stay safe out there, and I'll see you next Sunday.